Hello. Well, we are here with Omar. Omar, you've seen quite a bit of news about. I've asked him to do a little introduction, and we're going to have a conversation about what he thinks is important in Teriyaki Madness, how he's achieved what success he's achieved, how he's grown to be, what are we up to, Omar? 5, 6 locations here?
We are into 5 operating locations and 3 more in the pipeline.
Great. And when did this start? How long have you been, how long did it take you to build these?
Well, obviously the very first time was, I think I'm the only one that went to Discovery Day twice. I think I still made that history with you. That was back in 2015 or 16 in Las Vegas, when I was first very interested in Teriyaki Madness. I saw where it was going to grow into the company. Obviously, the territories was not available at then, but you and I had kept touch. And back in September 2018, you and I and your team up in Denver, we met up. I was invited to Discovery Day with you and the whole executive team, and we made I believe, a very good move for both of our companies to start a TMAD in Hawaii. And going over the Pacific was probably one of the most challenging builds that I ever have in my history of building and managing projects. And it happened to be just right before the pandemic. So that's how it started. We hung on. Obviously, starting a brand in a new location is the toughest thing, right? You have to build the brand. You have to let people know what you are, who you are, and how your food tastes. It's not all 100% positive. You will get the negative, but you just have to go through it. You have to let them know who you are and what good you could bring into the community. And
well, we'll talk about the positive, negative here later in the cast. So let's go to your background. What did you do before Teriyaki Madness?
I own and still operate a project management business for retailers, brick and mortars, PetSmart, Office Max, Lowe's, Office Depot, and Amazon. Those were my core group of customers.
And what does project management mean?
We manage the construction from A to Z. So a client would hire me or hire my team. We would build the buildings from the ground up. They would give me a budget, run with that budget, and basically give them a turnkey operation. So in 6 months, we would turn over a building ready to ring up the sales for the customers. They wanted consistency in their builds, and they weren't finding it from their regular GCs or their regular companies. So we came in, took all that liability out, and put it under one roof. And that's how I built my success.
Well, you may get quite a few calls from franchisees who are building out their shops or going through that challenge. So why Hawaii? I know you said that Las Vegas was sold out back then. Boy, you went pretty far away.
Yes, so Hawaii was an unknown place for a lot of retailers. A lot, as you know, a lot of companies, Fortune 500, 200, 100s, is afraid to go to the island. So when I got the call from Office Max to build 6 stores in the islands, I had to learn the culture. I had to learn the people. I had to be one with the culture and the community. And I knew going back then, I've always wanted to have a piece of Hawaii in my portfolio, whether it was personal or business. So being that said, the opportunity came in where we can go to the other side of the Pacific, as we would call it. And Teriyaki Madness was a perfect fit. Yes, there's teriyaki places out there. Yes, there's local places, but there's not something like what we can do, which is consistently making the same type of food and the taste. And I decided to take the plunge, as you would say in the news reel back then. I did, and I knew that it was the right call at the right time. Yes, it was the right call.
Well, you knew. What are the challenges in Hawaii that perhaps some of us don't understand?
We are still currently dealing with the fluctuation of shipping freight back and forth. So you have to be proactive in the islands, not reactive. And you could use the same method if you're doing it in Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Alaska soon, if you know what I mean. You have to be proactive. You have to make sure you have the right inventory. You have to forecast your sales. If you don't, you just let it go, you're not going to have your core items in the 30 days that you need it. So yes, you will have to spend a lot of money. You have to invest in getting that freight into Cisco ahead of time. Cisco will do a great job doing it, but you have to make sure that they're also in the same timeline schedule as you are. So it does take hands-on training, and also it does take a great team, and that's what I have. You have to work in the business, and then you can work on the business after.
So you really take a proactive approach to working with your vendor.
Absolutely. From day one and still on right now, I see everything that goes through me, and I don't micromanage the team. But at the very first day, I had to basically get down and dirty with Cisco, Captive Air, all my vendors, from Pepsi to Burke to everybody. They had to know that in Hawaii, we have to have at least a 20-25 day lead time. And you have to be proactive with that, because in one day you won't have the product and you say it's not my fault. Well, it is actually your fault if you don't actually look at it and forecast what you need in advance. So yes, you have to be very proactive in hands.
So you really partner with Cisco to make sure that they're doing a good job and you're being a good customer. Is that kind of sort of what I'm hearing?
100%. We manage them, and they have been a great partner throughout the Pacific. They have been phenomenal. And if you have an issue or a question, bring it up to Denver, bring it up to you guys, because in some cases, it's not Cisco's fault. Some cases, it's not TMAD Denver's fault. You have to find out the core of the problem. And sometimes it's just a logistics, right? We have storms between the island and the mainland. You have to just go with the grain. That's why if you have enough product or enough stock, you're allowed to be able to have that little leeway when you have those adversity, when you have a storm or when you have logistics issues in the mainland going into the port. You can't say it's just going to happen. You have to track it. Now having 2 stores, it's easy for us to trade inventories. And we do. We have to at some point. One store will do good, some do bad, and we balance it out. So at this point now, we have even great buying power because we have 2 stores in the islands.
And you're planning more, correct?
Absolutely. Looking for 2 more.
So is one that much harder than running 2 or 3 or more?
No, I always say your success comes in the second or third one and fourth, because you know what? It's like having a child. Your very first one, you're very careful. You know what to do. You know what needs to happen. Your second one, it gets a lot easier. And the third one, you just say, okay, you know what? Go ahead and play in the pen. You know that, Michael. It's the same theory, right?
I do. You have your first one, you're like, oh my God, my wife was never again. And then 18 months later, we're talking about number 2.
Well, yeah, number one, when I brought home my son, Christian, we had like bumper pillows all over the place in the car to bring him home. Second one, Marissa, okay, yeah, just get no more pillows on the side because you want mom to sit there or whatever. Third one, all right, just put John in the back, let's go. So but it does, like you said, it does come with a lot of investment territories. These shops are your kids.
Yeah.
You can't just say, you know.
So how does one manage multiple shops? What's the secret to that? Because now you have 3 in Vegas, you've got 2 in Hawaii, you've got more coming in both markets. I don't think anybody else in the system has as difficult a logistical challenge than what you do managing 2 very disparate markets.
Well, you know, like you said, it starts with a great team. So I teach my team to focus in on their customers. So my customers are actually my team, my core team, my COO, my director, my districts. Their customers are the managers / employees. The employees' customers are the people that come into the door. It simplifies the process, but you have to invest in the people. You have to invest in the marketing, and you have to invest in the system. The system meaning the core system that you guys have built, Because I think if you remember, I actually applauded you when I saw you back in 2018 to sign the deal and said, wow, this is a great, you invested back into your team and built the team. And that's what got me and said, okay, well, if Michael is investing back into the company, into his team, I'm going to go all in. And I went all in. So I'm still all in right now, almost 5-6 years later. So you have to invest in the team and you have to build that system. You can't look at the bottom dollar line and say, man, I need to spend $1,000 a week on this guy. Is he or she going to be profitable? You have to go past that. You have to say, it will get better. And it has, man, it has.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you for recognizing the team. I spent years building a team, and you're still constantly seeing churn, or you're upgrading, you're evolving, you need new people. But how'd you find them? How'd you find your team, and how long did it take you to build the team that you have?
Well, when I first signed up for Teriyaki Madness to do Hawaii, I had this great envision that my project management team that I currently have and still have would be a perfect fit. And Michael, they weren't. I had to think outside the box. I had to find a raw person. I had to find a person that's coachable. First start. And her name is Rosemary Goomba. She has had 0 restaurant experience. I got her referral from a friend. She was in the car industry. So I pitted her against my other applicant who had 10 years in the tenure with me, who I was going to bring from the mainland. So I could have put in a resume in Hawaii for a director of culinary arts, and I would have had a lot of applicants. I wasn't looking for somebody to change the wheel of Teriyaki Madness or the way that we have built or to build your process. I was looking for a person that is open to be coachable. And also at the same time, I need a people person. I don't need a person to not challenge me. I need a person to challenge me too as well, because we're both learning. So when I hired her on, I told her, I am your worst enemy and your greatest asset. I'm going to have you start working in the business with me. And as I work off the business, you're going to build the business for me. And I'll be right there. Because if I have to teach you how to run it with the people, then we have a problem. So she learned and my team learned. And then from there, I told her to bring the same philosophy. The people that you're hiring doesn't have to have the best resume. They just have to have the best attitude. That's it. You could change the attitude. You could change the thing on the resume. But if somebody's coachable, you know that. Just like us shop owners. If we're not coachable, you're wasting your time. We're wasting each other's time. Give me 1 or 2 minutes to tell you, just change for me. Just coach. Look at it the other way. And that's what the challenges that we all face, whether I'm taking over somebody's store that's had a great success, little by little change will happen. But if you do it right away, people will react. But you just have to hire the right attitude, the right people. And it doesn't have to come from the resume. It just has to be the attitude. Coachable.
Yeah, boy, you used that word 3 times, and that's the biggest trait, I think, that makes great employees, is someone who wants to be on your team and wants to learn what it's like to serve on the team and to be able to provide positive impact. I also heard, having that experience isn't necessarily a good thing. It seems to me like you hired for attitude. So how did you find? It seems like you took a referral, and is that how you've built the rest of the team?
Yeah. So from there, we started with, back in 2020, when we were finally got the green light. So you remember it. So 2020, she was my first hire. You would love this, Michael. I think you would. So I started interviewing her a year. So I signed the lease. Just go back real quick. I signed the lease for Couple A in March of 2019. I started interviewing her in June of 2019. I didn't offer a position until May of 2020, 2 months before we opened. because I was learning her culture with her family and she was learning our culture. It's not fair for me to just learn. This is my right hand person. So I just wasn't fair for me to just learn her and her to not learn the team or my philosophy. So I offered her the position the minute that we got the green light to start hiring for Couple Acres. If you remember, Hawaii was in lockdown, so we couldn't get anybody in and out. So I wasn't about to invest until we figured out. But during then, she stayed with me in communication, and I knew that was the person I was going to start helping run this mega business. Because if you have a person that's dedicated to you without even getting paid, knowing that they believe in your vision, I'm all in. So I offered her an offer letter in May 2020. She accepted it. We had less than 6 weeks to hire 35 people from Shanley. And she did. And I said, just take that same philosophy, get everybody in, hire with attitude. Everything else, we could teach them on the line. We could teach them how to cook. If you have somebody you come in, and she did, and we hired 30 great people. And to this day, we kept 85% of my crew from the original hire.
How have you done that?
Putting the people first. Putting them first, sacrificing. You as well as I know, our numbers are not where they need to be in Hawaii. It started out great, but you have to, the people, they keep coming back. We keep coming back. Listen, the strength of a great shop or a great business, yes, numbers are great, but at the end of the day, you have to balance it out. And these people balance me out. I have invested and will keep investing in my people as they are investing in our shops, keeping it clean, keeping it going, bringing the customers back in. Marketing is the biggest thing. In Hawaii, it's all about the coconut talk. You know that. Everybody, if you serve great food, great service, and give that great aloha, they will come back. The tourists are coming back. The sales are picking it up little by little. We have to build the brand. And I understand Hawaii is a tough market and will continue to be a tough market. It is not Vegas. But if we continue to invest in our people, Michael, like you're investing in your people, yes, turnovers will happen. But you know what? It's like that hotel. It's like the Eagles, the Hotel California. You could check in, but you could never check out. Do you know how many people came back? You know that song, my friend. People have come back. I swear to God, I just got a call from Rose yesterday. She said, hey, guess what? Guess who's coming back again? I said, okay, we are family. You have to consider that. And yes, you will leave. People will leave. But people realize that that if they compare what they get and what they had and what they will continue to have, they will come back.
It sounds like you've built a great culture.
Yes, and that's why I was able to do what I needed to do in the 702 compared to the 808. It's why it's still going strong in the islands without me.
Well, let's get to that in a second. So you said that building in Hawaii was the toughest thing you've ever done. You're part of that. 2/3 of our company have only been around through COVID, which is amazing. And you're one of those COVID babies. May 2020 in Hawaii, I can't think of a tougher situation.
Yes. And everything was shut down. We had to use whatever local resources we had. I had to dig deep through contacts and let them know that, yes, I am a local boy. I am a local fixture. You know who I built and what I built here in the islands. We need to help out as a community. So I did. I stayed open. I did not shut down one time. Except when Hurricane Douglas was coming down the barrel and 15 miles away from me, I had to shut it down for one day. But other than that, we stayed open. I didn't care if I had to do takeouts, carryouts. I followed your process. We followed the process of implementing carryouts, takeouts. Yes, it wasn't the best sales at the time, but you know what? You have to do with what you've got. Remember, we're in the mostly remote island. Hawaii is great, but we're in the middle of the Pacific. So if people are out there, I understand people are out there opening shops and they're thinking, man, this is tough. This is hard. Well, it will get through it. You will get through it. And it's you just have to pass through that. You will work 16, 18, 20 hours a day. But if you don't know the process, and how could your team know? You have to lead by example, and you have to show by example, and you have to follow the system that you guys have implemented. Remember, you guys have tried and failed and tried and failed, but perfected the system. Is it perfect? No. But we could all make it the best we can. It's simplified. I can tell you that. The cooking process is simplified. No order, correct me if I'm wrong, should take more than 3 minutes. Any item should be less than 3 minutes, from frying to whatever you need to do. And that's you just have to tell that to your shop managers and to your team. Listen, it's not rocket scientists. It's rice and chicken. Follow the recipes. I mean, it's not, we're not building, any other than simplified recipes that we have done. So yes, just barrel through it.
So what's the difference? You've now got 3 shops in a market where people recognize the brand, and your volumes are now significantly higher than you used to in Hawaii. What's some of the differences that you've noticed, and how have you dealt with them? How have you dealt with that volume?
It's unbelievable. Yesterday, I started my day early. As always, I obviously now I've been the last 90 some days been infiltrated into the Vegas. So the good thing is that I am aware of the shops that I had taken over. I am very familiar with them. Before even I was Teriyaki Man, is here more than ever, I actually, every day that I'm here, I'm seeing how the brand is marketed here, or how it's been already, where everybody, anywhere you go in the corner, you say, hey, what do you do? Oh, I run Teriyaki Man shops. Instantly, they know who you are. Instantly. And it's because of the volume. There's people waiting outside the door at 10:55 in the morning, 10:50, waiting to eat. So I see where you built that process of where you need to build the shops. You have to find the right location. You have to be lit. You have to be inviting inside. And remember, these shops are iconic, right? They are designed in back into the days. But what has not changed is the brand name. It's the brand. So what I have taken was what I'm observing here, bringing it back to Hawaii and telling my team every week and say, hey, listen, how much are we spending in marketing? Go and talk to your DoorDash reps. Go talk to your Uber Eats. Get the people out there. Get them to taste the food. So sign up, talk with your Easy Catering rep. I did a catering in one of the shops in Horizon for the Army base. Drill, I swear to God, it was $2,500 on a Sunday when this store used to shut down. If you remember, Horizon, it broke some records this Sunday. Not because of the catering, it's because I did some marketing. I'm putting vinyl that says we're open on Sundays. I'm putting a sign that says open on Sundays. You remember that store 3 quarters ago. If you look at that shop, it was closed for 200 days on a Sunday. Now I'm getting a banner that says now open on Sundays. I had just turned that shop around. I am going to where I need to be. The volume in that shop 6 days a week is phenomenal. I will need it to break a certain plateau every week, and that's my goal. Each shop is different, but one thing is consistent. In and out, the right product, get it to the right taste of the people's mouth, get them to come back. The biggest challenge is, yes, the people love the food, but your challenge is not if they love the food, it's if they come back to get it again and again. And just being friendly, being out there, talking to these people, letting them know who you are, asking them how. There's three things that I'm teaching everybody from all my culture. Phones has to be answered all the way till 9 o'clock. Nothing irritates me more than if you call anything before the open and it just rings. If somebody picks it up at 8:58 and say, hey, can I order teriyaki madness? Can I order chicken teriyaki? Listen, I'm sorry. The kitchen's already closed. We're 2 minutes from closing, but hey, we open tomorrow at 11 o'clock. You could order in the app if you want. I apologize. We have specials in our app. It's better to acknowledge than to not acknowledge. And that was my biggest challenge. And I tell people all the time, communication, communication, communication to the customer. So that's what I'm seeing. And they come back, Michael, they come back. I have a lot of regulars here.
How do you train that? How do you train that? You don't want your employees closing the shop early. You want to be open every day you possibly can. That makes sense. You want to not close early. You know, I get the 8:58 and I agree with that. But hey, buy them a free egg roll or something, right? So they do come back. You finally got someone to call. You spent all this marketing, you spent all this time, and then you're going to tell them no, which in certain cases is okay, but how are you going to make it right? How do you train employees to, one, have the autonomy to make those decisions, and two, to understand that the customer comes first?
Easy. I tell them our success is to the success of the sales and the growth of the store. Every year, you guys want performance reviews. You guys want performance races. You guys want all the bells and whistles. You want this. You want us to upgrade the system. Listen, if you grow with the system, we grow with the system. The only way we could grow with that is the people coming into those stores, to keep them coming back. Because at the end of the day, our financial stability of the store, it comes from the customer. If I'm paying you at a certain rate, and I'm telling you that if you shut down a shop, you start putting up your chairs at 8:30, a car could drive by and say, oh, well, I was going to eat there, but then the chairs are up. The lights are turned off half. That's it. What does that tell you? You're telling me you're putting that ahead first than the customer coming in. I understand at 9:01 we can't serve, or 8:59. I understand that, guys. But at the end of the day, I always say my power hour, the shop's owner's power hour, and believe me, tell me if I'm wrong, people tend to slow down as they see the time clock. Let's think of it as a casino. You don't see any clocks in the casino. Those casinos are making money all the way through. Our power hour, our shop owners, is from 8 p.m. to 8:59 p.m. That's where you lose your revenue. I tell my team, listen, I'm going to be calling at 8:55, 8:58. I want to see what's happening. I want to see what the shop's owner. I'll be looking at that cameras, and if I see a chair come up, what does that tell you? You guys are not in work. You want to get out of there at 9:05 or 9:15. But listen, if you want the shop to survive, if you want the success, if you want that raise, if you want that bonus, we gave everybody a Christmas bonus, a holiday bonus, right? And that because they took care of the shop. So you have to let them feel like, hey, this is part of you. If we grow, you grow. I can't pay you a certain amount of money if the shop doesn't grow. If you look at the sales trend, it's all in the sales trend. You have an up and down sales trend. And I guarantee you look at some of those shops from 8 o'clock to 9, they do 0. I started to change that way. I said, listen, just give it a try. Okay. Let's see what happens if you have your pickup orders all the way till 8:50. You have leftover, you have food. Why not make it the best you can? But always acknowledge the customer, whether it's outside, inside, or on the phone. You have to acknowledge them. Whether you have a bad review or a good review, you have to acknowledge them. Because that way they say, okay, well, at least they're taking the time and effort to help us. So what I did was, on last week, officially, since I was able to have control of the shops, to tell you something, I went into Revel when it was official, and I changed the bottom receipt. I said, for Sundays, bring this, they have $2 off. And the sales went 30%, and the discount was really small. It wasn't even that much. We just were advertising that we're open on Sundays. It's just the little things. It's been open on Sundays for the last 60 days, but they weren't promoting it. They weren't advertising, and I was seeing the lost revenue. And if I could do a 30 or 40% jump on a Sunday, on the slowest day of all our shops, that shop was number one. And it will continue to be number one. So you are right. You just have to tell the people, hey, listen, if you want to grow with me and you want to make that money, you want to be successful, you want to get to the next level, work with me. So
yeah, no, I agree. I see folks wanting to close on Sundays, or they want to close an hour early. Instead of closing, focus on driving the traffic into those periods. You're there doing prep, you're doing cleaning. You might as well be doing some deliveries and pickups and that kind of thing while you're doing it. Two themes that I've really heard. One is really focus on the team. The team are the ones who are deciding whether that business is going to be successful or not. And the second one is really focus on revenues. Don't necessarily focus on profitability out of the gate. Build the revenues and everything else will take care of itself. Did I hear you right there?
absolutely. Absolutely. And you just have to simplify your focus. It will come into light. It will balance it out. You just have to go be focused on that process.
Well, I talk a lot in training about 10,000 hours to master something and 1,000 days to get your business kind of in a place where it's efficient and as profitable as it can be. Those kind of sound like your time frame here. And
yes.
You started in COVID in Hawaii, which makes it extra tough.
Well, if you look at the math, my friend, July 1st, 2023 is 3 years for couple A. And I hang on tough. I've been hit by multiple hurricanes, physically as a storm and emotionally. We've taken a train wreck because the state, whatever cannot decide the political situation. But at the end of the day, my 3 years is coming up in couple A, and I should see a trend. Listen, as well as I do, that it takes that sacrifice and that dedication. If you come up to me and say, hey, I want to be your partner and I want to open a shop with you, or I want to do this, I want to do that, but I've only got 2.5 years to commitment. I say, well, you can't have that. There should be no timeline for you to say, hey, in 3 years, I'm done, because you have to give it a chance to mature. You have to give the shop. It's like you're telling me that in 2 years, I'm going to just fold and not do what I need to do. That's not enough time. These shops in Vegas are iconic. I guarantee you the original founders did not have $1 million sales. They didn't have they struggled. We all struggled. So why are you telling me that? So I'm just going to go off somebody else's success? No, I'm almost restarting the wheel here too as well. Yes, thank you. I love Gogo to death. He's built a great success here, but now it's my turn to keep that success going and build it to the next level. It's still a process. I'm not going to just lay back and eat bonbons. I'm here in Las Vegas, or I could have been in the beach in Hawaii. But this acquisition is very important to both my company and definitely to Teriyaki Madness. So if people out there are saying, "Oh, he's got it made," no, I have a bigger challenge in Las Vegas than you think I do. And we have a great system here that we will continue, but you have to give these shops time to mature. You have to advertise. Pearl, one of our sites in Hawaii, as you know, it's not all, is struggling because people don't know where we are. So I'm talking with the landlord, getting more marketing out there, Jody, everybody, to know where we are. People won't know where you are if you don't tell them who you are and you're not spending the money to let them know who you are. Couple A is great. It's steaming ahead. One shop could be 5 or 6 miles away. They won't even know you're there. So you are. Just give it time. You just have to give it time, and you have to have the right people and the right resources to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing in Las Vegas how no matter what Uber or cab you're getting into or whatever dealer, any blackjack table you're saying, everybody knows Teriyaki Madness. And that is, what do we have, 17 shops there?
17
17 shops. And I'm watching these other markets kind of build up. Where Colorado and Northern
Mhm.
California and Texas, Florida, Chicago, stuff starting to, that brand's starting to get out there. How many, let's see, how many franchisees are in Vegas? 5, Robert? Yeah, yeah. And now there's you, and you're looking for every niche to build another one. There's
Yes.
64 pandas in Vegas, and there's 17 TMAD. So there's plenty of running room. Well, okay. So you're growing, you're
Mhm.
building not only each shop, you're building out more shops, you're building your team. What's next?
To be honest with you, is to have both sides of the Pacific help each other out. And what we're going to do is going to help cross-train both of them, is to see how we have one side of the spectrum, which is the West Pacific, and then we have Las Vegas. And my growth is going to be anything in between that. Listen, these shops will stabilize the company, and it will stabilize both of our companies. It will show the growth. It's almost like it's iconic in some ways, and any new shops afterwards or whatever it is, we build that brand, we still market it, we build it. Yes, there is the Vegas is a growing area, and we need to grow with it. Hawaii is a growing area. Unfortunately, Hawaii is not as fast as we know in permits, but it is what it is. So I wasn't just going to stick around and let paint dry in Hawaii. So my focus right now is building Las Vegas to where it could restabilize and build more shops, and look at other areas. We could use the jumpstart of Las Vegas, of how they did it, and combine the new way of the shops that we're doing in Hawaii, the design, the theme, and mix it all together. In some ways, as you know, iconic is iconic. People like to come into the old iconic stores, like the Starbucks, the old original stores, but they also like to get the high-tech stores too as well. So if you combine both and not have that aggressive, friction, that I have the best of both worlds. I have iconic stores, and I have the brand new model of the year twice. I built a store from the ground up, which is Couple A, and I rehab Pearl, as you know. And then I have 3 iconic stores, and then two more brand new stores in Vegas. That's going to be the theme of the new era of TMAD. So if a shop owner wants advice from me, you could work with any conditions of the store. You could get a brand new build. You could get a second gen store. You could buy somebody's store and turn it around. You could build another site that you could buy. Don't let it deter you. You have to stay focused on your vision. If you don't have that vision to build, I'm 2 or 3 years ahead of where I'm at. And I think you're already aware of that. I'm not saying that my job is done here. I'm just saying that I have to be 1 or 2 years ahead of my team in order for them to keep going, to give them that vision. My job as the owner is to give my team the opportunities in 1 to 2 years that they're never gonna have before. My CEO is going back and forth from Hawaii to Las Vegas. It's her dream job with her family. So you're asking me what's next? Wherever I could build this successful business. And Vegas will stabilize. We'll build more in Vegas. Am I looking at Alaska? I think, I've always talked about other regions. So I have 2 shops that I need to be proactive on shipping and logistics. And I have 3 or 4 more shops come in. And I mean, the 3 shops now currently, and 2 more in Vegas that I could get a shipment the same day. So I cannot just be sitting around and satisfied. I have to look at it ahead of said, okay, what's next? It's growth. I want to complete my unit stores that I promised you that I will build, and more, and teach shop owners that how to build them is you have to follow the systems, both yours, the system that you guys have built, and current. So that's it. Growth is for me.
Okay, so what is kind of finally, what are some of the best practices that TMAD has, that you have, and what are some of the mistakes that you see some new franchisees making as they kind of come into the system and get going?
You know, when I came into the system, Michael, I have to be honest with you, I relied heavily on the process of TMAD, even in construction. I did. Even though I knew how to build buildings, even though I know how to take a dirt into a turnkey operation, I said to myself, don't be that guy. Don't be that expert to say, I know what I'm doing. Listen to people. I listened to you guys more than I did talk. Now, I did put in my comments or my experience into it. That helped. But what also helped was the way of building these shops, from site selection to understanding population, to understanding marketing, and first and foremost, to understanding that there is a process from hot training to training. Listen, there was nights when I signed after you, I'm thinking, man, am I going to be able to cook all these recipes? How the heck am I going to remember all these ingredients, right? And I said to myself, just relax. And I remember I went to the conference, the very first conference without a shop. It was in Denver. And I just sat there soaking everybody's experience, going to each of the coaching classes, listening and finding out, okay, as each day went by, before I even built my first shop, I felt more comfortable, because the people that you had, the team that you had, I had nobody to rely on. Remember, I'm in an island, right? So I hooked up with Tim. Him and I have a great relationship, as you know, McCurry.
Tim McCurry. Yeah.
Yeah. He's my boy. We walked from the hotel to Union Station instead of taking a cab in a cold Denver. And he made me feel better. I made him feel better. We bounced off each other's ideas. You have to partner with somebody in some way, whether it's in Denver. And I know everybody in Denver. We get along. Listen first. Listen. Ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. Learn. Take notes. You will fall, but you won't fail if you follow the process. Right? At the end of the day, when I was in training with you guys, it made me feel comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable with anything, ask the question. Tell your trainer, tell your coach, ask your coach. The coach program that you have is phenomenal. Listen, any time of the day, any hour, we could contact anybody. I think I asked Tyler one time. I said, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong. If I have an issue with a shop, and I didn't know any better back then, do I email you? Is there somebody that's going to help me 24 hours a day? He goes, listen, you could reach any of us. We're all available, whether or not what time zone. So that made me feel better. And it has worked. Remember, I'm 5, 6, 8 hours away from you guys sometimes. And somebody's always answered. If not, you have use the network. Call another shop owner. I'm willing to help. Call me. I'm 4 or 5 hours behind. I'll help anybody. I'm your friend for free. I tell people that all the time. I'm your friend for free. You don't have to pay me anything. I've been through where these guys are going to go. I've had the lowest days where the shops is not making that much money. It sucks. But you know what? What are you going to do? Shut the doors? Turn off the lights? No. You go back to the basics. And that's what we're teaching, right? Go find out best practices. One of the best practices is go back to the memorandums. Find out the advertising. Find out how much you're spending. You have to spend the money to let the people know. Follow the process. Your team, with marketing, with Jody, with Kevin, and the coaches, bar none. You can't have success without a great team behind you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Those are very kind words. I have to agree. I've always said the power of a franchise community, or the other franchisees, being able to go through those dark days. I can't tell you how many franchisees talk other franchisees off the ledge. Building a business is tough. And the fact that Tim was so able to support you, and you probably supported him, That's great to hear. And you know what, I think that's a great plug for the conferences too. People are like, oh, I can't find time to go to the conferences, or I don't want to spend the money, or they're huge. Even if it's just a couple of days of talking to other folks and understanding that others are going through the same challenges and having successes that we can emulate are really a big deal.
Huge. You know what? Your conference, the first conference I had, I listened. Do you know the second conference that just ended in May, we went to in Vail? People came up to me and said, hey, you're that guy. Can I ask you a question? Sure. What would you like to know? I've opened my first shop. So I went from a student to a teacher, to somebody calling me, hey, man, you're my mentor. I said, oh, he goes, I followed you. I'm following your journey. I said, that's great. But focus in your journey. What can I do to help you? I've talked from everybody from Idaho to Florida, as you know, from New York, as you know, from Texas. The first thing when they send people to me as applicants to talk to, I said, listen, do yourself a favor. You have to focus in on the business. You can't rely and say, hey, this, and this. And if you, however many number of shops you're going to do, make sure that you're all in, because if you're not all in, you're doing me this, don't, because the brand is gonna shift. If you send negative stuff into the community, it's gonna go from New York to Las Vegas to Hawaii. It's gonna travel faster than a plane can. So do me a favor, whatever it is you can do, make sure you're all in on this thing. I'm not here to sell you a franchise. I'm here to tell you, come be dedicated to this brand. And if you need help about the numbers or where I can be, call me, because I've been through it. Hawaii has not been successful, as we all know. It hasn't been. No shops until you really get it in there and get it oiled and get it running. So tell people to come see me, because I'll tell them. So the next conference you have, I'll take whatever role people want me to take. But my very first conference, I stood there like a first day student, talking with Tim, listening. Gogo was there. Alan was there. He was there. Everybody was there. So I just listened. You were there. I just sat there, ate the food, drank and listened and took it in and saying, okay, next year or the next couple of years after that, I'll be in the other side of that table. And you're in Vail, it was exact. I was thinking, oh, Ohmar, you're that. Can I talk to you for it? Sure. Give the people the time of the day, because you'd want that too. So I'm just giving back to the community of our shop owners, as they have given me the time 3 years ago when I didn't have nothing. I didn't know how the heck to do orange chicken, spicy chicken, how to do all this. And look at us now. Look at the growth, Michael. 5 years later. 4.5 years later, I'm running 5 to 6 shops. I'm still pinching myself.
Well, you've done great. Now, I've heard that you're willing to go ahead and help anyone who calls. That's really the culture that we're trying to build within the community, and I think you exemplify that culture very well. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. You're the very first story that we're telling here. And I think that there's a tremendous amount that you said that people can take to heart, they can execute on, and they can achieve their own success. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for becoming a teacher. Thank you for exemplifying who we are, and continuing good luck.
Thank you, my friend. And just let them know I'm easily reachable. I'll give them any time. And if they're in Vegas, if they're in Hawaii, come see me. And if they're in Hawaii and I'm not there, they can see my team. They're a replica of me.
I think you're going to have a whole lot of people coming to Hawaii as an excuse.
Well, I'll be in either side of the Pacific, my friend, wherever we need to do for growth.
All right. Have a great day, and thank you.
Thanks, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.